Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we'll talk about Topaz and her adorable companion Numby. In this guide, we'll talk about Topaz's kit, her best builds, team setups, and everything you need to perform for her and to make the most of abilities. So without further ado, let's get started. Topaz is a 5-star Firehound character, serving as the leader of the Special Debt Picket team and the manager of the Strategic Investment Department, and her expertise is debt retrieval. She fights alongside her trusty companion Numby as they travel across the cosmos, resolving liability disputes affecting the IPC's businesses. Topaz's basic attacks do fire damage equal to 100% of her attack to a single enemy, and her skill causes a single target to enter the proof of debt state, increasing the damage they receive from follow-up attacks by 50%. And this state is applied to the most recent target, and it can be activated on a random enemy if there is no proof of debt present when ally takes actions. And Numby will deal fire damage equal to 150% of Topaz's attack to this target. Using this skill to deal damage is considered as a launching a follow-up attack. Her ultimate is more like a buff. It doesn't deal damage, but it makes Numby enter the Windfall Bonanza state, and its damage multiplier increases by 150%, and crit damage increases by 25%. Also, when enemies with proof of debt receive an attack from basic attacks, skill, or ultimate, Numby's action is advanced forward by 50%, and Numby will exit this state after using 2 attacks. So basically you can achieve 100% advance for Numby with ease. Simply have your healer or your support target an enemy with proof of debt, then boom, Numby is ready to go. You can also do like Luota ult and then basic, and Numby is right up next. That was make Numby the superior lightning lord. The talent summons Numby at the start of the battle. Numby has 80 speed by default. When taking actions, Numby launches a follow-up attacks to a single enemy target afflicted with the proof of death, dealing fire damage equal to 150% of Topaz's attack. The action advance forward effect cannot be triggered during Numby's own turns. So when enemies afflicted with the proof of death and they receive a follow-up attacks, Numby's action is advanced forward by 50%. This is really good. I get it, the 80 speed is not the fastest, but the fact that any follow-up attacks guarantees Numby with 50% advance forward is really insane. As long as they're under the proof of death, which is really not that hard to target them with characters like Clara with her AoE follow-up attacks, which makes you almost guaranteed to hit them. Her technique summons Numby, and when Topaz enters the overworld, Numby will automatically search for basic treasures and treasures in a set radius. Using the technique also regenerates 60 energy after Numby's first attack in the next battle. Additionally, if Topaz in the team when enemies in the overworld are defeated, she receives a small amount of bonus credits, and it's capped at 10,000 additional credit per day. Also in SU, after using the technique and defeating an enemy, you receive a small amount of cosmic fragments with a small chance to obtain 1 random curio. This is a really nice, now you have a reason to use your technique, and I would love to see more of these type of techniques that solve some overworld and SU problems in the future. A2 lets her basic attack count as a follow-up attack. This is really good, it makes her easy to play, and now Topaz can generate skill points for the entire team by just using basic attacks to trigger the talent. So basically you get free point generation while dealing damage and getting Numby 50% up action forward. With this, there's no need to press the skill after inflicting the target with proof of death, unless of course you want to deal more single target damage or generate energy for your ult quickly. And with A4, both Topaz and Numby deal 15% more damage to enemies with fire weakness. For A6, after Numby uses an attack while in the Windfall Bonanza state, Topaz additionally regenerates 10 energy. So basically you're getting a free 20 energy, and it really helps with her rotations. For her Eidolons, when enemies afflicted with proof of death receive follow-up attack, they will enter the debtor state. This can only take effect 1 time in a single action. This state increases the crit damage from follow-up attacks dealt to the affected enemy by 25%, stacking up to 2 times. This is really good buff, especially for characters with AoE follow-ups, because they're more likely to hit the enemy with the proof of death to get that sweet 50% crit damage boost. And for E2, after Numby take action and launches an attack, Topaz regenerates 5 energy. This one is all about teamwork between Topaz and Numby. When Numby takes action and unleashes an attack, Topaz gets a 5 energy refill. So why is this great? Well, the more Numby attacks, the more energy you stock up for Topaz's ultimate, which translates to the more damage on the field by getting those juicy buffed Numby's attacks quickly. And if 4 is the big one. After Numby's turn begins, Topaz's action is advanced forward by 20%. It's like getting a free win set. This one is crazy because the fact that all of Topaz's damage considered as a follow-ups, so she will be pushing Numby's up and the other follow-ups damage dealer do the same as well, and now Numby can push Topaz up again to get that quick cycle of damage. And lastly, E6, Numby's attack count while in the Windfall Bonanza state increases by 1, and its fire resistance penetration increases by 10% during this attack. So if you like her kit and you want to pre-farm for her, you need around 887,000 credits, 290 purple XP books, and 65 of Syrian Steel Blade from new world boss drops, and the usual 15 green silver main badges, 15 blues, and 15 purples. And to 6999 for F2P players to save some materials, you need around 2.1 million credits, 18 green arrows, 69 blues, and 97 purples, and also 5 tracks of destiny, 9 regret of the infinite. In total, you need this. And for who wanted to max her out, this is what you need. Now let's talk about building Topaz. She's the third fastest in the game with her 110 speed. She only needs 1 speed boost to make her go to action in the first cycle with no subs at all. It's really good, it makes you focus on crit and attack percentage stats more. Take note, you should also avoid going over 160 speed as it won't benefit her that much. But you should go with attack percentage boots instead for more damage. That's where Asta comes into play, since she gives you 50 speed and you can get her all 100% out uptime with no investment whatsoever, so you'll be sitting over 160 speed most of the time. With a fire damage bonus sphere of course, with either energy recharge rope or attack percentage one. It depends on the team and the rotation you're aiming for, so if you're pairing her with Tingyun, you definitely need to go with an attack percentage rope, but if not, there's 2 specific situations for you. The first scenario, if you want her rotation to be somewhat skill point negative, or you're playing Topaz as a Hypercarry and she'll be the one consuming all the skill points, especially in single target situations. Or she's your primary damage dealer, then attack percentage rope is your go-to. It helps her hit harder in making her a potent carry. But if you're utilizing Topaz as a skill point generator for your team or a sub DPS, mainly relying on basic attacks, then the energy recharge rope comes into play. This choice assists in boosting her energy regeneration, ensuring her ultimate charge up more swiftly. And for the sets, actually none of the currently available relics her best in slot, but her best choice at the moment is the 2-piece fire set, increases fire damage by 10%, and the 2-piece musketeer for 12% attack increase. You can also make an argument for the 2-piece hacker space for that 6% speed, especially if you're playing Hypercarry Topaz. Or you can also go with the 4-piece musketeer set combined with the Sousaro to increase her crit rate by 8%, and when she reaches 50% crit rate or higher, her ultimate and follow-up attacks damage increases by 15%. When it comes to her LightCones, Topaz's best weapon choice is the Worrisome Blissful, which provides the highest damage output both at Refinement 1 and 5. This weapon not only increases the crit rate by 18% and the damage from follow-up attacks by 30%, but also applies the tame state at the target after unleashing a follow-up attack, and stacking up to 2 times. And when allies hit enemies under the tame state, it boosts crit damage by 12% per stack, and you get up to 24% crit damage at S1. What's great about this weapon, it doesn't say it has to be a follow-up attack, that means it's any damage, so basically you just have to hit the enemy under the tame state and you can get easily that 24% crit damage bonus, and it doesn't expire until you die. This weapon not only helping her do damage, but also boosting your team damage as well, which makes it incredibly good. And for those looking for a free-to-play option, the Herta Shop weapon at S5 is a solid choice. It increases crit rate by 8% and raises by an extra 8% against enemy with HP less or equal to 50%. Defeating an enemy with this weapon increases attack by 20% for 2 turns. Sleep Like the Dead comes in 3rd place for the average highest damage at S1, enhancing Topaz's crit damage by 30%. Additionally, if a basic attack or a skill doesn't result a crit hit, it boosts the crit rate by 36% for 1 turn with a cooldown of 3 turns. It's slightly less powerful than S5 swordplay, but becomes more viable as you upgrade it, and getting that S5 which is achievable if you summon it a lot in the weapon banner. Swordplay at S5 provides a substantial damage. Each consecutive hit on the same target increases damage dealt by 16%, and stacking up to 5 times. However, this effect resets when changing targets. And the S1 option is a close runner-up to the Herta Shop LightCone at S5. The only problem is we don't know if this weapon effect works on Numby's attacks or not, but there's no sign that this effect doesn't work so far. But even if it doesn't, it's still a solid option. If none of these options are available, only Silence Remain is a decent alternative. It boosts her attack by 32% and increases crit rate by 24% if there's 2 or fewer enemies on the field at S5. When it comes to building teams around Topaz, she offers exceptional versatility, allowing you to use her either as a Hypercarry or a sub-DPS. For a Hypercarry team is centered around maximizing Topaz's damage output. Your primary focus is to boost her damage potential. The usual supports like Tingyun, Asta, and Bronya all provides a similar benefit in boosting Topaz's damage by making her faster and giving her attack or energy recharge and damage percentage or even crit buffs. That means you can't go wrong with any one of them, and depending on the content and what you need the most, you have the option to either use one or a combination of two of them. Now let's check what they're good at. Tingyun plays a crucial role in this setup. She synergizes well with Topaz due to the lightning proc from her benediction, which guarantees an additional 10% more damage. Moreover, she supplies her energy recharge needs. This synergy allows you to maintain a skill alt rotation on Topaz and maximizing her single target damage output. Alternatively, Topaz can go fully SP positive and still get a 3 turns ult instead with a 50 energy from non-E6 Tingyun. But this could be a waste if you don't have any units that can use those skill points generated. Asta is her ideal companion. Her ult provides a speed boost and her talent gets an attack percentage increase, and also her traces give 18% fire damage. And with S1 Planetary Rendezvous, you can further enhance Topaz's damage by adding another 12%. That's a flat 30%, almost an entire fire damage bonus sphere. And if you get it to S5, her total fire damage bonus becomes 42, making Asta a potent support option. Achieving permanent ult uptime on Asta is highly effective, as it pushes Topaz's speed to 160 with no subs at all, and that's the optimal threshold for Numby. More than that is not quite effective because Numby is capped at 160 speed. And the good part, she doesn't require that much of investment because you can reach that by just using a Machine Cogs, a 3-star weapon, or you can use a planetary S1 to S5 for more damage if you manage to get the full ult uptime without using it. Using Asta to increase Topaz's turns is already increasing the number of Numby's attacks as well, since all of our actions are follow-ups, and this will work even better if there's another follow-up damage dealer or a DPS in this team. Bronya is much better teammate for Topaz Hypercarry by providing attack percentage buff and the crit damage bonuses, greatly benefiting Topaz. Additionally, with Bronya's turn advance effect, you are getting more effective speed, leading to more turns in the action forward for Numby. The increased number of Topaz turns result in faster energy generation and more frequent ults, amplifying Numby's enhanced attacks. You can also utilize Bronya's ult to buff Numby's heavy-hitting attacks. Alternatively, you have the option to build Bronya with little bit less speed compared to Topaz. By doing so, you can focus on giving Topaz some additional speed or use Asta in the team to ensure that Topaz take her turn first. This strategy allows her to execute an attack first, generating a skill point for Bronya. Then Bronya can use her skill to bring Topaz up again, resulting in more action for Numby. This tactic becomes more effective when you have another character in the team who can further advance Numby with their follow-up attack. Another option to consider is adding Yukong to your team. While she might not be your primary choice for buffing Topaz, as her attack buff is comparable to Asta's and consumes a similar amount of skill points, she does offer a substantial crit buff with her ultimate ability. However, it's worth noting that this crit buff is only applicable to some of Numby's enhanced attacks. Unlike Asta, Yukong lacks an additional benefit of fire damage percentage buffs and speed boost. While she's not your primary choice for buffing Topaz, Yukong can serve as a secondary buffer when combined with Jingyun for a skill point positive Topaz with the 3-turn rotation I mentioned before. Yukong can make use of the available skill points. She can do like E or basic attack E for a 3-turn rotation. Then she ults right after Topaz's ult, which helps forward Numby as well buff his biggest hits. When using Topaz as a sub DPS or a supportive damage dealer, it's crucial to consider follow-up damage dealers in your team, which is the best option in my opinion, because she's lacking AoE damage, so you have to run a sub DPS with her to take care of that. Here's some thoughts on various characters in this role. Jinguan can be a viable option, but he has a little bit of problems if he's paired with Topaz, because he requires a lot of skill points in time to build up his Lightning Lord stacks, which might not align perfectly with Topaz's kit in advanced Numby forward. It's worth noting that Jinguan can be somewhat finicky, especially when it comes to crowd control, which can lead to a significant loss of damage output and can be really annoying sometimes. Same go for Himiko. I mean, at least she's usable because in mono fire team you can max her 3 charges quickly if there's enough mobs and they are weak to fire. As long you can break enemy shields quickly, this allows for an increased frequency of follow-up attacks, which can be really good in clearing trash mobs efficiently. However, her performance becomes less reliable against some bosses in MOC. Herta and QQ also both have issues as well. For Herta, she needs allies to cause an enemy's HP percentage to fall to 50% or lower to launch a follow-up attack, which is super inconsistent for Topaz and Numby, and it needs a lot of mobs to make use of her talent, and it's super situational since most of the bosses in MOC have high HP and there's only 1 or 2, so her talent is kinda useless there. And for QQ, after getting her E4, there's a 24% chance to launch 1 follow-up attack if she uses a basic attack or enhanced basic. I don't think that's even worth running just for a 24% chance and how absurd her skill point consumption is. Like you see, most of them are inconsistent follow-up damage dealers and they can take full advantage of her kit besides Clara, which makes her by far the best party member for Topaz due to her high frequency follow-ups, especially when she's being targeted by enemies, because the more she's being hit, the more counter she deals and the more Numby will be fast and forward. To the part she can double, almost triple Numby's damage, making her a fantastic choice. Yes, you can make an argument that she'll be missing the enemy under the proof of that most of the time, but her enhanced counters has an AoE portion to it, so basically there's a really high chance to hit them anyway. Even if the enemy under the proof of that didn't target her, you just have to hit the adjacent targets. To do that, you need to manage to get her out 100% uptime, and you can get that easily using an energy recharge rope on her because you don't really care about speed on Clara, and you'll be using an attack percentage boost on her anyway. And what she really needs the most is damage percentage bonuses, because she gets a lot of attack percentage from her kit, and guess who's taking care of that? Yes, Topaz. You can see how they really complement each other now. Clara can also serve as a tank for this team because her talent makes her being targeted by enemies more, and she's a distraction too. And the good part about this team comp, you can make Topaz be the skill point generator for the team, and Clara can take care of the AoE situations. And the moment when you're left with 1 or 2 big bosses, which the most of the MOC floors has, it becomes guaranteed to hit the enemy you want, and by then you can go greedy and make Topaz uses all the skill points and make Clara and the healer generate them for her for a maximum single target damage. And for the support slot, ideally Chingyun or Asa or any debuffer like Silverwolf or Pela. When it comes to sustain and ensuring your team's survivability, several options at your disposal. Luocha stands out as the go-to for healing, widely regarded as the best healer in the game. His abilities not only provide a substantial healing but also include the valuable capability to cleanse and dispel enemies' buffs. Additionally, he's a skill point positive, making him a robust choice for this role. Lynx is another strong option and she's my favorite here. She brings cleansing ability to the table, which can be particularly useful for managing debuffs, and especially for the aggro on Clara in this team, because she has built-in taunt that she can apply on a destruction or a preservation ally, increasing the frequency of Clara's follow-ups at the cost of less survivability due to her lower healing output compared to Luocha, but you gain some from it by having one character get in focus on instead. Any other healer still works fine for survivability because how this team can generate enough skill points for the team, but expect Clara to get less counters since she won't be getting hit as much. Any preservation character can be fine too, except the Pyro MC because of their taunt, and you want Clara to be the one getting targeted in this team. Ideally Push 1 will be amazing here for survivability and crit buffs, but the one most of you will be waiting for is March 7th, and especially March DPS mains. Her follow-ups can work well with Topaz's kit since every character with her shield increases the chance of them getting hit, which is really good for Clara, and if they're getting hit she'll do a counter which will help Numby's up as well. She can make use of the follow-up damage bonus if she's built with damage, and especially E4 March because she'll get a 3 counter per turn, and at max there's like 5 enemies at once. March is a really reliable here, but I think you should build her with defense for sustain instead of dealing damage. And the only downside of using her in this team is her ability to freeze enemies, which is a DPS loss in this case. In conclusion, Topaz is a remarkable, versatile unit, capable of functioning both as a hypercarry and a sub-DPS. In either role, she excels at dealing significant damage, earning her spot as one of the top single-target damage dealers. But what truly sets her apart is her unique ability to support the team effectively. Unlike other hunt or DPS characters that can become obsolete as power creep sets in, Topaz can continue to shine by enhancing other follow-ups damage dealer, guaranteeing her a long shelf life. And the good part that her kit will be even better in the future. future, since we will likely get a better consistent and a reliable follow-up centric characters and also a follow-up boosting relic set. You also have the flexibility to choose between these two team composition based on your available units and the preferred playstyle, while Clara main will undoubtedly get the most benefit from Topaz synergy, but don't limit yourself, Topaz remain a solid choice independently. That's it for the video guys. If you enjoyed this guide and found it helpful, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on Topaz. Do you think she is a game changer or do you have any doubts on her? Feel free to drop your opinions and insight in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching and catch you in the next one. Bye.